The thunder outside wasn't what shattered me. It was the way he held her. I ran into that little cafe just to escape the rain. My hair was soaked. My shoes were ruined, and I was laughing at how dramatic the storm felt. I remember thinking I'd text him a picture and joke about how he should come rescue me. Then I saw him. He was sitting in the far corner, back to the window, the soft yellow light falling over his face. And in his arms was a woman. Not just sitting close. Not just talking. He was holding her like she was something fragile. Like she belonged there. Her head rested against his chest. His chin pressed gently into her hair. His hand moved slowly up and down her back, soothing, protective. Intimate. That wasn't the kind of touch you give a stranger. It wasn't the kind of touch you give a friend. It was the kind of touch he used to give me. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't run to them. I just stood there, dripping rainwater onto the cafe floor, feeling something inside me go completely silent. The worst part, he looked peaceful. Not guilty. Not nervous. Peaceful. I walked out before he could see me. The storm didn't feel cold anymore. I did. On the ride home, I kept replaying it in my head. Maybe it was a misunderstanding. Maybe she was sick. Maybe there was some dramatic explanation. But deep down, I knew. The way he held her wasn't accidental. That night, he came home late. He smelled like coffee and expensive perfume. I watched him loosen his tie, talking casually about traffic, and a long meeting. I nodded, smiled, asked if he wanted dinner. He kissed my forehead, and I realized something terrifying he thought I would never know. That's when the pain shifted. It stopped being loud and sharp. It became quiet, focused. I didn't confront him, not the next day, not the next week. Instead, I watched. I noticed the sudden gym memberships. The new shirts. The way he angled his phone away from me. The work trips that popped up twice a month. And I started preparing. We'd been married 8 years. I had trusted him with everything. But thankfully, I had always kept my own career alive. I worked remotely, handled investments, and, most importantly, I understood our finances better than he realized. So I began gathering information. Bank statements, credit card charges, hotel bookings, gifts that were definitely not for me. He used our joint account for some of it. Careless. I didn't argue. I didn't accuse. I let him feel safe. 3 months later, I knew her name. I knew she worked at a marketing firm downtown. I knew he had rented a small apartment under his business account. And I knew he was planning to leave me. I found the draft email on his laptop one evening when he forgot to log out. I never meant to hurt you. I've found someone who makes me feel alive again. Alive again. As if I had been a burden. As if our life together was something dull he had outgrown. That night, I didn't cry. I called a lawyer. A very good one. Here's the thing about betrayal, it hurts. But it also clarifies. I stopped hoping. I stopped wishing he'd come back to me. I focused on protecting myself. My lawyer helped me quietly separate certain assets. I documented everything. The infidelity. The financial misuse. The apartment lease tied to his business. Then I waited. He finally confessed 2 weeks later. He sat me down at our dining table, looking rehearsed and solemn. "There's someone else," he said softly. I didn't plan for this. It just happened. I looked at him calmly, almost kindly. I know, I said. The shock on his face was almost worth the heartbreak. He blinked. You know. I saw you, I replied. In the café. During the storm. For the first time, he looked afraid. He started apologizing, saying he was confused, saying he still cared about me. But I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I simply slid a folder across the table. Inside were the papers, divorce filings, financial records, evidence. His face drained of color as he flipped through them. You've been tracking me, he whispered. No, I said calmly. I've been protecting myself. Here's what he didn't expect. The apartment he rented using business funds. That violated company policy. The joint account money spent on her. Documented. The prenup he insisted on years ago. Ironically, it protected me more than him. He thought he was walking away clean. Instead, he walked into consequences. The divorce was not dramatic. It was precise. I kept the house, a significant portion of the assets, and most importantly, my dignity. As for her, she didn't stay long once the financial glow faded. Turns out, he wasn't as alive when real life started costing him. A year later, I ran into him again. Not in a storm, not in a cafe, at the grocery store. He looked smaller somehow. Tired. He tried to make small talk. Asked how I was. And for the first time in a long time, I felt genuinely light. I'm peaceful, I said. And I meant it. Because the truth is, I didn't need to destroy him. I didn't need revenge in flames or shouting matches. My revenge was patience. It was silence. It was preparation. He thought he was holding someone fragile in that cafe. But the fragile one was him, and he never saw it coming. I didn't recognize my own husband, not because he looked different, but because of how gently he cradled her, like she was the only safe place left in the world. The rain had driven me into that cafe. I was irritated, soaked, and rushing. I almost didn't go in. If the storm had been just a little lighter, I would have kept walking. Instead, I pushed open the door and watched my marriage collapse in complete silence. He sat in the corner booth, the one with the small lamp and the peeling leather seats. His arms were wrapped around her. Not casually, not friendly. His hand cupped the back of her head. Fingers tangled in her hair, rocking her slightly as if she were something precious. She looked young, soft, vulnerable, and he looked devoted. That's what broke me. It wasn't lust. It wasn't a reckless kiss. It was tenderness. I had been married to that man for 9 years. 9 years of shared passwords, shared plans, shared exhaustion. And somehow, he had saved that version of himself, the gentle one, for someone else. I didn't confront him. I didn't even let them see me. I walked out with my heartbeat roaring, louder than the thunder outside. I remember gripping the steering wheel in my car, so tightly my hands went numb. On the drive home, I thought about all the times he had seemed distant. The late nights. The vague explanations. The way he started showering the second he walked in the door. I had told myself marriages go through phases. I had told myself love matures. I had told myself not to be paranoid. But women know. That night, when he came home, he was almost cheerful. He talked about a difficult client meeting and how drained he felt. He even pulled me into a hug, and I let him. I let him hold me with the same arms that had held her hours earlier. Something inside me hardened, Not into anger, but into clarity. If he wanted to play a careful game, I could play better. The next morning, I started paying attention. Not obsessively. Calmly. He was careful with his phone, but not careful with patterns. Every Wednesday evening, he stayed late. Every second weekend, he had a conference call that required privacy. I didn't ask questions. I made notes. I checked our shared bank account. Small charges at first. Coffee shops. Then dinners. Then a boutique hotel across town. He wasn't even trying to hide it well. He just believed I would never look. And that was his biggest mistake. You see, I had helped him build his business. I knew the finances inside out. I knew which accounts were clean and which were flexible. And slowly, I noticed something interesting. He wasn't just cheating emotionally. He was funding it. Rent payments under a consulting expense. Gifts marked as client entertainment. Flights that didn't align with any actual meetings. He was risking everything we built for a fantasy. So I called a lawyer. Not dramatically. Not in tears. Calmly. I gathered screenshots, statements, dates, copies of company policy. I didn't need to yell to win. I needed proof. 3 months passed. 3 months of him smiling across the dinner table while planning a life without me. I found messages he forgot to delete. Plans to finally tell her soon. Promises about a future together. He thought he was the one preparing to leave. He didn't realize I was preparing first. The night he confessed was almost predictable. He sat across from me, eyes heavy, rehearsed sadness on his face. I didn't mean for this to happen, he said. She just understands me. Understands him. I looked at him and felt something strange. Not rage, not heartbreak, just distance. I know, I said quietly. His face froze. You know. I saw you, that day. In the cafe. The color drained from his face so fast it almost made me laugh. He stumbled over apologies. Said he was confused. Said he still loved me. Said he didn't want to hurt me. But I had already done the hard part. I had stopped loving the version of him I thought existed. I slid the folder across the table. Divorce papers. Financial documentation. Evidence of misused business funds. And a detailed summary prepared by my lawyer. You used company money for your apartment, I said evenly. You violated compliance agreements. And you drained joint assets for personal expenses. His hands trembled as he flipped through the pages. You're going to ruin me, he whispered. I shook my head. No, you did that yourself? Here's what he didn't anticipate. His business partners didn't take kindly to fraud. Once confronted, they gave him 2 options: resign quietly or face investigation. He resigned. The apartment. Gone within a month. And the woman he held so tenderly. She stayed, briefly. Until the lifestyle she had grown used to started shrinking. Until the expensive dinners turned into takeout. Until the man who made her feel safe couldn't even secure his own stability. She left quietly. Just like I had left emotionally months before. The divorce settlement favored me heavily. The house stayed mine. A significant share of savings transferred legally and cleanly. I didn't fight dirty. I fought smart. A year later, I heard through mutual friends that he was struggling. Starting over. Smaller job. Smaller life. I didn't feel joy. I felt free. The storm that day had felt violent. Loud. Unpredictable. But it saved me. Because if I hadn't ducked into that cafe, I might have spent years loving a man who was already gone. He thought he was protecting someone fragile in his arms. But I was never fragile. I was patient. The moment I saw him holding her, something inside me didn't break. It went cold. Not shattered, not screaming. Just cold. I remember the sound of the espresso machine hissing behind me, people laughing, cups clinking, and there he was. My husband, rocking another woman gently, like she was exhausted from surviving the world. He used to hold me like that when my father died. That memory hit harder than the betrayal. I walked out before he noticed me. Sat in my car. Watched the rain blur the windshield until I couldn't see anything clearly, which felt fitting, because suddenly I couldn't see my life clearly either. I didn't cry. And that scared me more than anything. When he came home that night, he complained about traffic and kissed my cheek like nothing had shifted. I studied him while he spoke. The ease, the normalcy, the audacity, and I realized something important. He wasn't afraid of losing me. He was certain I would stay. That certainty became my advantage. I stopped reacting. I stopped initiating conversations. I became observant. Calm. Pleasant. He mistook my silence for ignorance. Meanwhile, I started untangling myself. I moved a portion of my salary into a separate account. Perfectly legal, just overdue. I